Alrighty. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Joni Girardi. I'm DataSelf's founder and CEO. First of all, thank you for making time today. I hope you're staying safe, well, and sane, which is my biggest problem, fortunately. Today, we're going to be talking about DataSelf for manufacturing companies. We'll talk about several things, major key performance indicators for manufacturing companies, natural language, AI, machine learning, and analytics. I have with me also Clark Walliser. Clark Walliser has been in the manufacturing industry for a long time, and he's going to give a quick introduction about his career around manufacturing initiatives. And then throughout the webinar, he's going to cover 3 different use cases that we have helped clients with manufacturing analytics. So Clark, would you please put the webcam on and introduce yourself and give us the first use case?
Greetings. My name is Clark Walliser, as you know. Most of my career, I've worked for about 30 years as primarily a Sage consultant with a focus on manufacturing. About 8 years ago, I went to work for an end user manufacturing company. And so I got to be on the other side of the coin, the end user implementing the manufacturing first with Sage, then with Epicor. Then I went to another manufacturing company as an end user also, and that was using Microsoft Dynamics 365 for manufacturing. So I've gotten a fair broad background on the manufacturing and the kinds of issues you deal with. Finally, I ended up at DataSelf and with the business intelligence side of it, and now pulling together the manufacturing data into a usable format and medium that you can use to help make decisions in a timely and accurate manner. That's pretty much it right there.
Perfect. Would you go for the use case, please? First one.
Sure. Use case 1. We've got 3 use cases we're using here. These are actual customers. I can't use their names. We haven't gotten permission yet, but they are real customers. The first case, pretty general. They have an ERP system, and it has all the manufacturing functionality, etc. And they were trying to use that data to build their own dashboards directly from the ERP system using Crystal Reports or reporting services. But it was clunky. It would not run in a timely manner. They would be pulling data from multiple tables, pulling it all together, and the report might take hours to process. And it was very complex to do all the table linking, etc. They chose to go with DataSelf, and here's the reasons why. It simplifies the whole process. The data warehouse pulls all the data together into one table, so they can pull everything from one table for their dashboards. They can use that the data warehouse to refine their data to include only qualified data. Sometimes they have sales orders that are in the system that they don't want to include, or purchase orders or work orders that they certain ones they include, exclude. This gave them the ability to customize that. And so they could clean their data before they reported on it. Then they would use the user interface tools. You can use either Power BI, Excel, or Tableau to pull this data out, and they would get a clean report in moments instead of hours. So they're not doing it. There's nothing fancy there. It's simply getting the data they need when they need it. They had tried this before in Crystal Reports and reporting services, as I said, but those are only report writers. They didn't have the ability to store, to build the data source into one data set. And so they have also taken the time to learn how to use their tools, so they are self-maintaining. They're not dependent on us for any of the daily items. The result of that, they get the data they need when they need it to make decisions to keep from stopping operations.
All right, Clark. Yep, thank you very much. I remember that at least one of the parts that why from taking hours, it went down to seconds to run reports. Is I think the bill of materials was one of the components. They have a multi-layer bill of materials, and I think they were using either Crystal or reporting services. And running through all the possible ways to combine the bill of materials was a major problem for their prior system. And when we use data warehousing and tools like Tableau, we have the right dials to take complex data manipulation processes and turn them in seconds instead of taking so long. Anyhow, Clark, appreciate for the first use case. I'm going to go now into the more overview of how DataSelf adds value to manufacturing companies. So the first good news is manufacturing companies, they have a lot of data being captured to run their business. Like Clark mentioned, if you are in this webinar, probably it's because you come from one of these different ERP and MRP systems. You use for your traditional ERP, your financials, your sales and whatnot, but also you might be using the MRP components or an add-on to the system to run your manufacturing processes. But typically, to run your business, you also use other data sources like Excel. Very popular to use Excel to do a lot of the data analysis of your manufacturing processes or your budgeting, your production orders. There's a lot of things that people do in Excel. Or maybe you're more like the Google Sheets instead. You don't like Excel and Microsoft. Doesn't matter. There are different tools people use to do their data silo manipulation. But likely you may also use CRM, like Salesforce, or HubSpot, other systems. You might have e-commerce, you might have Google Analytics, you might have payroll. Overall, we have seen that companies usually use more than 20 different data silos to manage their business, more than 20 on average. DataSelf, we are a fairly small business and we use more than 20. So Google Analytics, Excel sheets, project management is all over the place. We call this the data house divided. If you're trying to understand what's happening with your business, what your major KPIs are, typically the information is all over the place. Typically, you have to know where to go. You have to know the credentials. You have to know how to run reports. If you need to customize reports, it becomes complex. So we hear over and over and over from people coming to us that they are flying blind. Management doesn't have visibility into what's going on in a timely fashion. Sometimes when they get to know about something, it's being days after, weeks, and even sometimes months later. So today, in this crazy world we live in, flying blind is something that people are trying to get out of and make better, more informed decisions in a timely fashion. Typically, what companies do is to use what we call Excel hell. Excel is a great tool. I'm not talking specific about Excel, but people use tools like Excel, reporting services, Crystal, or even Power BI and Tableau directly connected to their data sources, and eventually becomes a little monster. All of these different places, nobody knows exactly when the data was refreshed. Is the way you're calculating your metrics in one report the same way as calculating another report built by someone else? It becomes very complex if you don't have a centralized way to manage your key performance indicators, to have a single version of the truth so everyone will be using the same standards. So it's very hard. And when you're using these tools and using this direct approach like most people do, it becomes a labor-intensive process. Many people, they have hours and hours and hours every day or week or month to get the reports properly calculated, properly vetted, and distributed. So it's hard, it's labor intensive, and error prone. So these, flying blind, Excel hell, and labor intensive is a very high level problems we hear all the time. In the way we solve, or the way we recommend you to solve, even if you don't use DataSelf, is by using data warehousing technology. So what I'm showing you now is going to be showing you the DataSelf way to fix these problems, but you do not need to use DataSelf. These concepts as a whole can help you. If you have the resources to build your own data warehouse from scratch, absolutely you should assess, should you build it yourself? Should you get someone to build your data warehouse? Should you go with DataSelf? Those are your questions to solve. But with a data warehouse, it's an easy and established platform to bring initially maybe your MRP data. You only want to tackle your manufacturing processes at first because it's painfully right now to do analysis. But eventually you want to go beyond manufacturing. You want to go to core financials. You want to go to sales. You want to go to payroll. You want to go to Google Analytics. No matter what, data warehousing is an established technology. You can bring all of your data silos together. You can glue the pieces in the data warehouse. Building and maintaining a data warehouse requires proper expertise. If you have people, good people have experience with data source, data warehousing, they can, automate a lot of these tasks that usually people do manually in, Excel, Increase and whatnot. And then once you do the data warehousing consolidation, then you can plug different, reporting tools, Tableau, Power BI, Excel, reporting services, Crystal, whatever it is. And now reporting would be easier, faster, everything coming from a single place where you define the truth. How do you calculate your overtime? How you calculate your cost of goods? How you calculate your gross profit? You define those metrics in your data warehouse. Now, when you pull the reports and the metrics, all of them will follow the same version of the truth. So an architecture using a data warehousing is usually a big component to tackle a lot of complex reporting needs. And if you use tools like Tableau and Power BI, which we embrace and we support, these tools are like the gold standard when it comes to reports and dashboards, easier, faster, more empowering for your end users. In anytime, anywhere, you can find the reports and KPIs using desktop applications, web browsers, and mobile devices. Very empowering. Finally, from a DataSelf standpoint, I'm going to be showing some to you. We have built in our 15 years of experience more than 5,000 report, dashboards, and KPIs templates. So if you decide that DataSelf is the right fit for your data warehousing and analytics, you don't start with a blank sheet. You start with a very rich library of reports and dashboards to help you get to focus on data analysis quickly and easily, and then you can customize it as you wish. So this is an architecture that is usually very helpful to tackle complex manufacturing reporting needs. With that in mind, I'm going to open another section for Clark to give the second use case. Clark?
Yes. In this case, the customer, the company, their needs were a little bit more than just simply getting the data out of the ERP and displaying it the way they wanted. Their production was driven by sales order demand and sales projections. And so that was a driver to make sure that the raw material availability and subassembly availability was there. They wanted to do just-in-time inventory and eliminate any shortages or overstocks. Their MRP system could do that, but it wasn't always exactly, the data wasn't always exactly how they wanted it. So that became a difficulty, and time. It was recreating it each time. Took time, and then sometimes that was too late. It was no longer valid data. So what DataSelf allowed them to do with having a data warehouse, they could customize which sales orders qualified for demand, which purchase orders qualified for supply, which work order, purchase orders or work orders, etc., could be factored in. And so they got a clean single source data set without having to do any extra work. And then they could do their reporting off of that cleaned and validated data source with all of its built-in calculations. Again, they didn't have to recreate the data set with links and etc. It was right there and is refreshed every day. The buyer had his pre-made reports, and so he could run those standard reports, but he also had the ability to do, has the ability to do ad hoc queries, pulling from the same data, and the ad hoc queries have built into them all of the formulas and calculations they would normally use so that they have consistency there. This enabled them to select only their qualified data and get the information quickly in moments instead of hours, which was important to them given the timeliness of it.
All right, good stuff, Clark. I think also one of the messages from this story is a very common scenario with mid-sized manufacturing companies. They design the manufacturing process, the MRP process around a certain production flow, but so many times things change. They need to tweak things, and then the MRP doesn't provide a lot of flexibility to change things on the fly. But if you have a flexible reporting tool that you can quickly play with the numbers and see if you change this, what happens. We're seeing that BI is a good complement for manufacturing companies because it gives you extra flexibility to analyze your things, even though if your manufacturing processes in the MRP system would not allow those tweaks. So I think this was one of the values that this particular manufacturer was using DataSelf for. Flexibility of data analysis. The other one was more around performance. This one more about flexibility of making tweaks in their processes. All right, thank you, Clark. Moving along, so now we're going to be jumping into the DataSelf demo. The idea of this demo is to give you some insights into KPIs, reports, and dashboards that can be valuable to you regardless of DataSelf. So if you want to build your own, please. But we'll also show the DataSelf framework as a whole. I'm going to be giving an idea of how we do the data house united instead of divided. Then I'll show some of the KPIs out of the box for manufacturing. I'll show natural language, how we're using natural language or how we're empowering manufacturing companies in the natural language framework, AI and machine learning. I'll show some examples of customizations on the front end, on the back end, and also how people usually use this framework for the report distribution. So having said that, now I'm switching to our DataSelf portal. And all the things I'm going to be showing the next 15 minutes or so can be embedded inside of your own applications. So if you have an MRP, if you have an ERP, typically today, most ERP and MRPs, you can embed third-party reports and dashboards in them. And this could be completely immersed in those applications. But the first thing is the data house divided versus the data house united. Once you start bringing your data together in a data warehouse, you can use tools. And right now I'm showing Tableau as a tool, and we have Tableau as an OEM component in DataSelf, where when the user logs to the portal, in this case, the Tableau portal, depending on the user's credentials, you have access to all of your data silos. In this example, I'm showing an example where a user will have access to the ERP information. So there is sales information, there is inventory information. This user would also have access to the MRP component. So manufacturing is here. CRM could be from Salesforce, could be from Sage CRM, or could be Dynamic CRM, Acumatica CRM, doesn't matter. E-commerce, marketing tools, Google Analytics, more financial information, and paychecks. So in this example, I have access to all of these things. I just click on these buttons and I go and I can analyze those individual sections together in a single place. Think about the CEO of your company, the COO, the CFO, the managers, giving them the ability to go to all of these data silos that they care for reporting mostly, not for operation, a single login on their mobile device, and quickly seeing information is very powerful. We have many clients that once they saw this, they got the vision, they say, where do I sign the check? Usually it's not that easy, but getting a data house united is a big value for many manufacturing companies. Now, because this webinar is focused on manufacturing, I'm going to be focusing only on this section of the data house united. And later, I'm going to show you, if you want to also learn some of these other things, where to go on our website. We have last week or month, we had a webinar around distribution. In distribution, we focus on shipped sales, inventory management, financials, and I think we also covered CRM. So if you're also interested in better analytics out of your distribution side of your business as a manufacturer, watch that webinar to learn about all these other components. Today, we're going to be focusing on the manufacturing only section. And to get that started, typically, what happens is a manufacturer, they are selling goods, right? So typically, this section here is to see what I have today on hand and what is available to ship. So all the rest is whatever you can ship today, you'll be analyzing on this section. Well, what if you cannot ship because you don't have enough ready to be shipped? Well, then you go into the manufacturing component, and usually the first step is planning your manufacturing processes. So I'm going to click the inventory planning button. It's going to go to our pre-configured dashboard to get started to plan for manufacturing. This dashboard can be heavily customized, and usually it's heavily customized. But let me show typically how we help with the inventory planning component, assuming this would be a good fit for your needs. You have, for every of your products, you have a major block here. And then you have for your period, this would be the current period. Right now I'm looking on a weekly basis. This would be my current week. I can see how many of each of these items I have on hand today, right? So all on hand today. Then I can see what's on work order. So I don't have a lot of sample database here. It shows on work order coming inbound to my work order, a bunch of items by week. Then I see what's already being sold and what is the promise day. So you can put here by week what's going out of the door. Then we plug sales projection. How do you do your sales projection? We usually check how you do it, and we usually can automate the process, or we can help you make it more effective. So once the sales projection is calculated, then it's automatically plugged for a week. And then we do what is the on hand projected by week. So this week, at the end of the week, what's going to happen when I take my on hand plus what's coming in minus what's going out, this is my projection on hand per week. And then when you look at the minimum on hand, then you have the excess or short. If it's red, is negative, so you have less than your quantity on hand minimum. If you have black, you are above, and then you can see if you are behind or not your shipments. We use here typically ways so people can easily control some of the dials. This is, again, highly customized. How you want to do your projection of sales, how you want to do your on-hand projection calculation, parameters. Are you going to look at all the items or only your A kind of items? What warehouse you want to consider in analysis? So this is usually, if the client doesn't have a framework for projection that they only just want to automate, sometimes an Excel file, sometimes they use R, the language R, to do projection. We can incorporate those as well. If they don't have those, or if they see this as a better, either we go the way that they are doing and automating, or we use some template like this to help with inventory planning. So first step of the manufacturing process is inventory planning. Then typically once you have your inventory planning, you have to see, okay, do I have my bill of materials? So now I click the bill of materials tab. And again, this is an example of a bill of materials dashboard where the top left shows me the finished goods, how many I have available to ship today, and how many are required in my orders, and if I short, meaning I have to produce more. Now, in manufacturing, almost every single KPI or key performance indicator might be a discussion. For instance, what exactly is available to ship? In some companies is what they have sitting as a finished good in their inventory. So we use that definition to define what goes in this column. In some businesses, what's on water, is coming from overseas. And if it's 2 weeks away from getting to the port, we already consider quantity available. So no matter how you calculate your KPIs, we can customize the data warehouse and the templates to be sure these metrics are specific to your use case. So once you define, the bill of materials finished good and you have your quantity short, then we can go to the next section where you have the finished goods exploded into their bill of material levels. Out of the box, we have support 5-level bombs. So out of the box, if you have from 1 to 5, we pretty much have to see how they are structured, and the templates pretty much get the data and allows you to analyze the quantity required by each level based on the total order that you need. If you have more bill of material levels, we can customize or train new people on how you can create 6, 10, 15, as far as you want to go down in your bill of materials level. So overall, this will be the section where you can take the finished goods and explode into each of the bill of material levels and see the quantities required. Then we have what we call the raw materials by BOM. So for every BOM, we have what exactly we have available and what's required. And eventually is the list of all raw materials. So if you need to buy raw materials, if you need to order them, this gives you the whole picture based on the initial finished good. In all of these dashboards we have, if you were to use DataSelf, they're highly interactive. If you come over here and you see where do you use these 3 particular raw materials, when you select them, these 2 sections are going to change to show where those 3 products are being used in which BOMs and how they're broken down by bill of material levels. So very interactive to quickly see the high level picture and go and slice and dice your data accordingly. So that's an example. And again, you can choose everything. You can choose by warehouse, on water, which is fairly common for manufacturing companies to see things that are coming from overseas. So that's the bill of materials. Once you know what you need to buy so you can produce things in case you need to buy more things, then you go to purchase more things if you need to buy more things. And this is an example of a purchasing dashboard available out of the box. You can see by product, the quantities that you have in open to purchase order. Whatever is in green means is you're supposed to be receiving today. Yellow is slightly late, 1 day late. Orange is more late, took 7 days. Red is very late. And these are future PO. And again, if you want to see what's you're behind and you click the red, you only focus on the vendors and the products that are behind and all the details associated. So just this a quick way to see how you can quickly see PO and focus on the areas that might be of a problem. Moving along, so once you know the purchase order, you might want to actually go into the work order and see how this is going to be distributed in your production processes, your production centers and whatnot. I'm not going to go into that dashboard. I want to show another one so we can cover other topics as well. I'm going to show now the manufacturing dashboard. Typically, this dashboard is highly customized. So likely you would not have something like this specifically, even though some of the widgets could be of value for your manufacturing processes. But the idea of the manufacturing dashboard is to give upper management a view of what they care when it comes to the manufacturing processes. So in this case, in this dashboard, we have units produced as the bars, and we have the percentage loss by each product. So in a quick glance, I can see some items I produce a lot more others, and which ones I'm having a lot of percentage losses. And maybe as a decision maker of the company, I want to further investigate those things. Then here we have in this section, by every operator for every product, you see the average hours to produce whatever they have to produce. You can see the numbers, and you can see the bubbles with the same colors as below associated to each person. And the idea is to find out why some people are more efficient than others. Can these people teach the others on how to be more efficient? Or trying to find weaknesses in your process to enhance them. So these are ways to analyze that. You can see a summary of what you have to be shipping for the next days. If defects is something critical, you can put some widgets to see defects based on defect types, based on locations, and hopefully find trends. And again, to find why some places are having less defects than others, so upper management can keep tab of those high-level KPIs. Again, in DataSelf, highly interactive dashboards. If I were to select only 2 products, what about all of these KPIs only for one product? Let me choose only one product. So right now I chose a single product, and it shows me what's going on with this product. If I choose 3 products, the whole dashboard changes to show all the subcomponents influencing those 3 products. All right, so these are the out-of-the-box KPIs we encourage you to think about if you're doing manufacturing. And out of the box, if some of them would be of value, we would be up and running fairly quickly for you. What I want to show you next is some of the ways to customize DataSelf. And by the way, when I go through my different slides here, sometimes if you look at the products we're creating, the people associated, when I go from tab to tab, they're not the same. Is because this is a sample database, and in our sample database, we haven't normalized all of them. So sometimes people, wow, why I saw one product in one tab and I saw completely different things in another tab. My sample database is not yet beautiful to show that consistency. We're still working on it. Anyhow, what I want to show you next is, wow, beautiful dashboards, but how easy it is to build my own dashboards, how easy it is to customize things by myself if I am a manufacturing company. That's what I'm going to show you next is customizing. I'm going to show first the report and dashboard editor, which is usually for people who spend some time learning it, even though it's fairly straightforward. After, I'm going to show how natural language can also get people who do not have time to learn report editor and how they can get their own answers, their own questions answered by themselves. So now I'm going to go to the report editor. And today, I'm going to be using a sales sample database. We're hoping that in the next quarter, when we do other webinars for manufacturing, we're going to have a production sample database to show how you can do production new reports. Today, I'll have to use the sample sales database. So, but the mechanics are about the same. Once we bring your data to the data warehouse, and then in this case for the Tableau framework, as a user, you go and you see a data tab that shows that particular data set. In this case, is sales. But if you're in a production system, this could be your manufacturing data, your bill of materials, your purchasing. You can blend the data together. You can do a lot of things. Right now, I'm going to be focusing specifically on sales. And I'm going to build a new dashboard from scratch showing 3 different major metrics or key performance indicators. One is I want to see sales by customer, by product for the past 2 years. Then I want to see sales and gross profit trends over time. And finally, I want to see sales by territory or by state in the USA. I want to put them all of these 3 widgets together in an interactive dashboard that will be sharing with other people. And eventually, I'm going to show how to schedule the refresh and email of this dashboard to my users. That's what I'm going to do in the next 5 minutes, all of these things. So I'm going to show that it's not too difficult to do it. So my first KPI of this dashboard is sales by customer by product for the past 2 years. So I need to find my customer, is right here. I put in my rows. So these are my customers in my database. I want to see sales. So I take sales, I drag into my report. So sales by customer in the whole company history. I only want to see for the past 2 years. Well, let me take document date and put in my columns. And by default, the tool gives me my whole company history, everything. Well, I only want the last 2 years. So I'm going to tell that my year here becomes a filter in my dashboard. So I click that, and now I have a filter, and I say, only show me the past 2 years. And there it is, sales by customer for the past 2 years. All right. I also want to see sales by customer by product. Well, I can find product over here and drag it to my report. And there it is, I have sales by customer by product in the past 2 years. If you know how to drag and drop, you can do a lot of these reports. And it's all fluid. Maybe you want to see sales by product by customer. Sure. You take customer, you put after your product, and now you have by product by customer last 2 years. Maybe you want to see quantity sold. Sure. You find the metric, you drag and drop, and now you have by product by customer, quantity sold, and sales for those 2 years. I'm going to remove all these things because I want to keep it simple for the example, customer and product. But as long as people bring the data into the data warehouse and we connect to this data source, and that part of the work is more technical. But once that is done, building reports and dashboards is a lot of just drag and drop. All right, that was my first report. Next one, I want to see sales and gross profit over my company history. I'm going to click a new sheet on the bottom left. A new sheet is like a new tab in an Excel file. So I have a blank sheet. I want to see my sales. I'm going to double click sales. This is my whole sales in the whole company history. I want to see by month. So I'm going to double click document date. And by default, it shows me sales by year as a line chart. Well, I want to see by month. I tell the tool, don't show me a year, show me months instead. And now I see the whole history, my sales by month. And I also want to see gross profit percentage trends. So I take my gross profit percentage over here and I drag to my report. And right there, I have here at the top, the gross profit percentage trend. At the bottom, I have my sales trend. And in this example, I'm going to click the show me button on the top right and tell, show me this on a dual axis approach, which for this visualization, it shows nicer. So the idea here is the orange bars are sales on a monthly basis, and the blue line is my gross profit as a blue line. And I have this weird data here, which is maybe when I transitioned from my old ERP to my new ERP, I don't want to see that. I want to clear that weird data. Sure, creating a filter, I can go over here and say, show me as a filter. It becomes a filter, and I'm going to remove that bad data to just make it cleaner, just my current data. That's it. That's my second widget. My last one, I'm going to click a new sheet. So my third clean tab. In this example, I want to see ship to state. I'm going to choose ship to state. I'm going to select my sales and tell the tool on the show me to show me this on a map. And there it is. I can see the numbers on a map. Bigger bubbles is bigger sales. And now that I build those three different individual widgets or reports or KPIs, I want to build a new interactive dashboard. So now I click this other button, which is for new dashboard. And dashboards, typically we make them to automatically fit the size to the screen of your device. And so this is the automatically fitting the size of the screen. And I'm going to just drag and drop the new reports. The first one is a tabular report. Just drag and drop anywhere. That was my first report. I'm going to take the second sheet, which it was the trend analysis, put at the bottom. So we see this gray area where I drag and drop, it stays right there. So I'm putting at the bottom my trend analysis. In my last sheet, which is the map, I'm going to drag and drop on the right. Again, you see this gray area where I drag and drop. I'm going to drag and drop right here. That widget stays where I dragged and drop. So this is my dashboard that I built from scratch. I already have named it before, but I could, if I want to save with a different name, I could save as a different name. And you can put security around it. Only salespeople can access it. Only production people can access it. Only people from the finance department. You can control security, so this data will not go to the wrong hands. But anyhow, I already have saved as a sales dashboard 1. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to click in my manufacturing folder. I'm going to call MFG1 dashboard. I'm going to call it MFG manufacturing 1 dashboard. I'm going to click save. So now it's being saved. And again, I am in the edit mode of my reports and dashboards. Now I'm going to get out of the edit mode. And when you get out of the edit mode, you are in a mode where most people have access to the reports and dashboards. They do not need to know those drag and drop, point and click, that for some people is too much. They just need to know how to read the information. So I could tell my sales team, hey, go and see my MFG1 dashboard. They could click the search button and find it and open it. If I'm opening this on a mobile device, I could quickly here and say, hey, how are we doing on the West Coast? I could select with my finger. And when I do that, my dashboard changes. So very interactive dashboard with a few minutes that I built from scratch. Try that in Excel or Crystal, reporting service, or any tool that you use. Building from scratch reports and dashboards, on average, out of the box, we already have a lot, but on average, about 80% of the custom reporting needs that people have out there, if you know the basics, you can build it yourselves. The other 20% sometimes require more training, but there's a lot of reports in dashboard that if you go through a little bit of training, you can become very self-sufficient in customizing your own reports and dashboards. So that was the report designer functionality. And today I showed you using the Tableau engine working behind the scenes with the DataSelf framework. What I'm going to show you now, I'm going to go back to my main dashboard, and I'm going to show natural language query. What about natural language query? Natural language query is a fairly new technology. It's about 5 years old. When you look at being mainstream out there, you can buy products that incorporate it. Natural language query, it's like searching the internet, like Google or Bing, where you enter a question, but the source of the answer to your question is not the internet, is your data silos. Whatever you bring to the DataSelf data warehouse can become the source of your natural language queries. And when you ask a question, the answer, they're not articles, they're actually reports built from scratch on the fly to answer your questions. So let's see an example. I'm going to click the natural language query for sales. So I'm right now inside of the sales. And, oh, yep, it was just loading it. Looks like I have to log in first. All right. So I am inside the natural language bucket for sales analysis, meaning this is for salespeople. And typically what you do is you just type a question. So I'm going to go over to the Ask Data and say, I want to see sales by salesperson in 2020. So what you do is sales by salesperson in 2020. You ask a question. The tool will give you hits, just like on the internet. You see the hits, you choose the right one, and the tool will build instantly and accurately an answer to your question. In this example, by salesperson, I see sales in 2020 in a descending order. This is not magic. This is technology. There is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and natural language technology working behind the scenes to give you instant answer to your questions. Natural language query is designed for people who know how to ask questions. True, many people don't know how to ask questions, and if you give them, it's not going to be fun because they're going to ask something, think about something else, they're going to get an answer that is not exactly what they thought, and they're going to misinterpret the answer. So natural language, you need to know to whom you're going to be giving the framework. But if the person knows how to articulate these questions and they can read these reports and dashboards, is amazingly empowering, is amazingly, you give these people the ability to be anytime, anywhere, without knowing report editor and all of those things that usually the geeks go through. They'll be able to find answers to many of their questions without calling anyone. And that's ultimately the goal. Make decision makers more informed in a timely fashion by themselves. If they make more informed decisions, hopefully it will be better decisions and everyone will win. I'm going to show two more examples. So I saw this first, result. What if I want to break down by month? So I'm going to put by month. The tool tried to understand my question, gave me options. I choose the right one. And now it broke down in 2020 by month, by salesperson. It gave me a line chart where every line shows sales. So right there, instant, accurate answer to my question. Now, some people say, hey, I don't like line charts. I like a different representation. Maybe I like numbers by the penny. Hey, you choose the text table, and now the tool will convert whatever the dashboard into a text table. And now some people are going to find, oh, thank you for showing me numbers by the penny. And maybe some people want to export, get this data into Excel. Sure, you can select data points. So I selected all of the January data points, and I tell the tool to show me the data. So now I get the data into another page, and I actually want to see the underlying data. So this would be every single record behind those numbers. These are sales, invoice number, invoice date, and whatnot. But if I was looking at manufacturing information, this would be work orders, bill of materials, whatever you want. So easy ways to use natural language to find data that you want and export if you need to get the data out of the web framework. So natural language, super empowering in those perspectives. Lastly, and I almost forgot, when I build this dashboard from scratch, what if I want to send this dashboard automatically to my users on a schedule? Do I need to call the IT people? I can, but if I want, and if I have the rights, I would have this subscribe button, and I click the subscribe. Who should receive this report? Myself, and I'm going to make Zach, and I'm going to put Clark. Hopefully Clark is here. Yeah, Clark is here. You just put all the people that you want, and then this becomes a list of people to receive this dashboard. You can send a single view or everything in this workbook. If you have, let's say, a financial workbook to send automatically to your board members, you select the whole workbook, and then you can distribute it as a PDF. You can give a title to this email, and you tell, send me this weekly, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Click subscribe. Automatically, every Friday, 8:30 a.m., all of these people receive a refreshed version of this report, guaranteed, with the latest data, with a single version of the truth, completely hands-off. So report distribution can become completely automated with DataSelf. All right, so let's go back to the PowerPoint and finish the next few steps. So I covered everything here, and let's let Clark give his last use case. Clark.
Greetings again. So in our last use case, this customer, very similar to the prior one, except the needs were, the timing was even more critical. They had multi-level bombs, and they also had e-commerce where they could get maybe 1,000 new sales orders in an hour. And so like the second use case, they were able to expand everything down to the raw material demand and supply. But to rerun rerun the whole data refresh every hour for everything would have been very difficult. But with DataSelf, they're able to take and only refresh the new sales order part of it, and that automatically integrates with the rest of the data available. So they were able to see the impact every hour by refreshing only the sales order part of their data set, which took just a few moments. And then they could get the clearest, up-to-date, just-in-time impact on their inventory. All the same features of the second use case, they were able to modify and customize what qualified as supply, what qualified as demand, etc. And they could create their own data views, do their own ad hoc queries, but it was all from one data source, designed the way they needed it without impacting the original ERP or e-commerce data sets.
All right.
Joni? Yeah.
Clark, thank you very much. We're almost running out of time, so I'll move along. Some of the exciting things of DataSelf is the deployment of the entry-level solution takes literally minutes. On average, 30 minutes, we do the full deployment of the entry-level solution. Pretty much you have to order DataSelf from your VAR or directly out of the dataself.com website. And then the deployment is pretty much, if you have an on-premises system, you download an application, you go through this 5-step process, very simple, and at the end you press save and finish. It might take some time to upload your data. It might take minutes, hours, and days if you have a huge amount of data. But once the upload is automatically pushed to the cloud, you can go to your DataSelf portal and you start to see your out-of-the-box reports and dashboards. So deployment is really very fast for the entry-level solution. We also have an enterprise solution that takes usually weeks. It has a lot more power, a lot more dials, but if you want to get a taste of DataSelf with the entry level, is amazingly simple, amazingly affordable, and you can do it yourself. The deployment, is fairly well and straightforward. Behind the scenes, to extract your data out of your source systems, can be on-premise, can be in the cloud, we use our new DataSelf ETL. ETL is extraction, transformation, and loading. It's an amazing, fun, easy, yet powerful ETL tool. You have the current version, which is still fairly new. You need to know SQL statements. If you know SQL statements, you will have a blast. You have a lot of controls that usually, if you don't use this ETL, it takes a lot of clicks to do in whatever tool you're using to manage your SQL environment. But in a nutshell, you have your data sources, you have your source tables. This is the data warehouse. This is what's in each SQL statement for each table. You can control the refresh process, refresh everything, refresh only deltas, append. Simple, yet extremely powerful. So if you're a data geek like you will likely love our new ETL Plus tool. Pricing, depending on your systems, it starts at $2.99 per month, and we're currently offering a 14-day free trial. If you want to order, pretty much you go to dataself.com. On the home page, you click the product that you want to go, let's say Sage or Acumatica. I'm going to click Sage here because there's an extra step. Once you go to the Sage page, you select your product like Sage X3. And then here you have, the Advanced, which is an expensive product, in the Enterprise. And by the way, for X3, Advanced starts at $4.99. If you were to go to Acumatica instead, then the initial intro pricing is $2.99 instead. So anyhow, these pages can give you more information, more pricing details, how to deploy. Feel free to explore to deploy and learn more about DataSelf. Let me go back to my pricing. Having said that, we're running almost out of time, but just to give an overview of what we saw here today. First of all, big thanks to Clark. I think those 3 use cases might inspire you if you're having some of those pains. And maybe if you want to learn how we solve those pains to other clients, maybe you have your tools. Maybe with your own tools today, you can learn some tricks from our team to solve them. Please call us. We're here to help. And if our technology can help you as well, we're glad to sell you. But we're here to also, share some of the learnings we've done over the years in how to do better reporting and analytics. So thanks, Clark, for your input. I also covered the data house united perspective of DataSelf versus the data house divided. I showed you a few of our key performance indicators available out of the box. The advanced analytics, the entry-level version, has about 100-ish reports and KPIs available out of the box. If you go to enterprise, we have thousands. Depending on your selections, can be 8,000 KPIs out of the box. So enterprise has a lot more things available in case you see value for that. I also showed and talked about a little bit of the automation of complex and labor-intensive manufacturing reporting. Part of the automation goes into the data warehouse. We can do a lot of data prep on that part of the solution. Combined data, multi-layer bill of materials, whatnot. Some of the complexity can be tackled on the UI, something like Tableau, Power BI, or even Excel and other tools. And some of it is the automatic distribution reports. Depending on your UI of the reports, there are different ways we can automatically take reports and dashboards and distribute them automatically to people hands-free. So those are the things that usually automate complex labor-intensive manufacturing reporting. I showed you today only the natural language, artificial intelligence, machine learning on the front end. We are also building this kind of framework for the back end. So if you want to learn how we are building, bringing AI to the extraction process and other places, stay tuned. We're going to be announcing in the near future our investment in AI and machine learning on the back end. Again, reminder, this deploys in minutes if you go with the entry-level solution, and the starting pricing is $299. Having said that, I'm going to open questions and answers. We don't have a lot of time, but if we have some questions, I have at least a minute to answer. So let's see if we have any questions on the Zoom webinar panel. Please feel free to make questions. And nope, got no questions. So let me go to the next slide. These are my contact information. I really appreciate you joining us today. This session is being recorded, and tomorrow we're going to be sending an email to all of you and people who have registered with a copy to the recording. Feel free to share with others. If you have questions or comments, feel free to contact us. We're here first and foremost to assist, educate, and if you can do business, absolutely. By the way, if you're considering investing in DataSelf, we have special promotions running through the end of the year. So please feel free to contact me right away so we can talk if you can do some business. Otherwise, thank you. Stay safe, well, and sane. Thanks for joining us.